Into the Fold is a podcast on mental health issues, produced by the Hogg Foundation for Mental Health. I'm your host, Ike Evans.
We see that the more children are physically punished, the more mental health problems they have. So the more the more anxiety and the more depression. And that makes sense because you can imagine children who are being hit or threatened with being hit a lot will be anxious and fearful and afraid of their parents. And so it makes sense that if you experience that a lot in your life on a day-to-day basis or month-to-month basis, you'll start to internalize that as an overall anxiety. And so it's not really surprising that we see high levels of anxiety among these children, high levels of depression, unfortunately, some suicidality as well. So yeah, we do definitely see mental health impacts of this kind of harsh parenting. One of the main reasons parents hit their children is because the children are hitting somebody else, right? So the child hits their sibling to get a toy they want. The parent says, "Stop hitting." Now, what kind of message? You just told them to not hit, and then you hit them. So right away you can see why it's not going to work, right? Because your actions speak very loudly. Even though your words are saying one thing, if your actions are actually hurting the other person, like if you're hurting them with your words and your actions, the children are seeing that. They're seeing that there's this contradiction between the message and what they're actually saying. So in those cases, it's definitely not effective. What physical punishment does is it gets people's attention, right? If somebody slapped me right now, they'd get my attention, right? But then it's what happens after that that's crucial. If parents are not saying, this is why what you did was wrong. You can't just take the toy from your brother. You need to take turns. You need to share. You guys need to find a way to work together. This is how we deal when we have scarce resources. We got to figure this out. If it's a teaching opportunity, then all that spanking did was get the child's attention. As parents, our job is really to help children learn how to make choices. Because life is full of choices, right? Every day we are faced with choices and paths that we can go down. And we want to make sure children are kind of given the skills to make those choices that will be best for them and won't harm other people. And we want them to do that when we're not around. And so if the only time they do it is when we're around because they're afraid we're going to hit them, that's not very effective discipline. Because as soon as we're gone, they'll just do whatever they want. They haven't internalized the reasons why it's important to share. I take a very human rights oriented approach now that I don't think that people should hurt each other. I don't think anybody should be allowed to hit anybody else. And as a society, we've decided that's true for adults, right? It doesn't matter what color your skin is. A spouse cannot hit their spouse. We just don't allow that. That's illegal. It's assault. And so I apply that same lens to children. And so I honestly don't see any difference between those two things. And so I don't see any difference between hitting children based on their religion or their culture or where they live in the country or the color of their skin. To me, all of us hurt when we're hit. We are still in this kind of period where we're still grappling with this practice that we have held on to for a long time, that really is about control and power and expressing anger and frustration, and not about making children better.